So just a little word about these webinars. I'm going to be starting one every month with different topic. This time I wanted to talk about food, which is I'm quite passionate about this one. But it can be anything lifestyle related and MS, multiple sclerosis, or neuroimmune conditions related. So the next one will be around the benefits or the non-benefits of exercise. Still have to work on a title, but then we can talk also about mindset and mindfulness. So every month I would change the topic. The idea of this webinar is to keep them short, because I'm not even sure webinar is the right word, but there's a lot of information out there in the world, and I think that when we're starting to follow webinars that last 1 hour, 2 hours, it's great, but it's really full on and into the details, and at the end I'm not sure we always really keep something of it. So I really want a specific topic and a short time, just have a snippet for you to leave with something and have time to ask a question as well. What else I wanted to say about this webinar? Every time there will be a question, but don't expect to find a yes or no answers. My answer will be most of the time, it depends. That's really annoying, I know, but the idea again is to empower you to make your own decision and own understanding on whatever we'll be discussing. So the answer, for example, today of is meat right for you when you have multiple sclerosis? Again, it depends on the person, on who you are, on your DNA, on many, many different things that we're going to try to explore quickly today. So I don't know yet, that's my first one, that's the first one of the series, so it's going to be every month. I don't know yet how we're going to be having this working out, but I actually like when things are interactive. So please ask your question in a comment. I hope I will not miss any, because it's a bit hard to be behind the computer and share my information at the same time. But anytime you have a question, please ask it. If you feel like I'm missing you, just unmute yourself and ask out loud. At least I will see you. But know that if you're doing that, you will be on a recording as well. So let's see how it goes for today. First, maybe before starting, you would like to know, for the one who don't know me yet, you might want to know who I am and why I'm doing these webinars. I'm a certified nutrition and lifestyle health coach specialized in multiple sclerosis and neuroimmune conditions. So I've been trained in nutrition and lifestyle as medicine, and as a coach we are also trained to help people in behavior change. So that's something I'm doing more into my private practice, helping one-on-one people to create habits around a healthy lifestyle that will help them support their condition. Here it's more my free part and the part that I'm sharing, because again, knowledge is accessible and needs to be accessible for everyone. What is hard is not knowing, is actually the doing. So for this, you have the opportunity at the end to eventually ask for a discovery session with me if you want. But for now, this part is completely free and it's about sharing information. I also myself have multiple sclerosis. I've been diagnosed in 2019 while I was going through some fertility issues, which I'm still going through. So I'm not trying to sell or share a cure. I'm not selling anything here. Again, it's even more than just management. It's really understanding your own body and trying to help and support yourself the best that you can. So today's topic is again around food, and is meat right for you? I decided to start on this one because it came actually from a few clients of mine. A pattern that I noticed is they all developed a fear around nutrition and starting to be hearing so many different information and sometimes contradicting information, while even if this information actually all backed up with science and all real, still one will say something and the other one will say another one. And especially around meats. I had a lot of people actually asking me, I don't know anymore, I'm scared every time I'm eating a steak. Am I supposed to or am I not supposed to? And I thought that starting with meat was the best way to enter this conversation around nutrition and multiple sclerosis. So I'm gonna take maybe around 10 minutes maximum to do a quick presentation and share my thoughts around this subject of meat, and then I will open to all of you. So again, once we open the conversation, feel free to unmute and ask, or write in a comment if you feel more comfortable to do like that. Right, I need to breathe a bit too. I'm starting to speak faster. So the first thing is, for who meat would be absolutely wrong? For me, there's some simple answer to that. It is definitely not for you, for cultural reasons, for ethical reasons, and simply if you don't like it. For me, that's the main point, is you have to know, to listen to yourself and to know yourself. So that's not something about science, about biology, it's how you're feeling according to that. If someone is vegan for years and years and years because they just cannot think about the idea of eating an animal, I'm not going to try to change that. So that's for me the three main reasons that someone should not go into eating meat. Again, ethical, cultural, and a question of taste. Simple as that. If you don't like it, there's a reason for that. Then when we enter more into, someone is actually out of the room. Sorry for the one who just joined. I say I'm trying to manage the computer and the talk at the same time, so I hope I'm not missing anything here and anyone. So I was just starting actually and saying that the main reason someone should not, for me, eat meat, MS or not MS, is for three reasons: ethical, cultural, and a question of taste. That doesn't mean, in any case, that meat would be bad or good for multiple sclerosis. So that's where we have to decipher a bit more and enter into the subject. There's a lot of studies around, and I think, so my point is that meat is not bad in itself. We're going to dig a bit more. There's a lot of studies and words that have been shared in the world about meat is bad, meat creates cancer, meat is inflammatory. I'm not saying these studies are not right, but they need to be looked at a bit more precisely as well. What kind of meat are we talking about? How much the person were eating? What were they eating around that? So the quality, the quantity, everything matters. The quantity during the week, the quantity in a plate. So for people who are scared about eating meat because they heard that it's so bad, I think meat has been demonized a lot, and maybe for the wrong reason. There is reason, and again, I'm saying the studies that are saying that meat creates cancer are right, but maybe because it's eating too much meat that can raise some level of nutrients that then creates cancer. Always think that everything needs to be put into context. For me, when someone is excluding meat from their diet entirely, they are missing on two crucial nutrients. Animal food is the only and the best, not the only, but the best source of B12. B12 is a vitamin that most people with MS are highly deficient in. So excluding meat, again, you're excluding B12, which with MS we need. Again, don't be scared if you're not eating meat. That means you do your learning and get it somewhere else, which will be in legumes usually, that you will find your proteins, but know that the amount will be less and not as easily processed by the body. That's just human body and how we are made. We process the B12 in meat in a much easier way that we can process it from plant source. Then you can thrive without eating meat, but that means that maybe you need to have your level checked and supplements. Okay, so again, it's not it's good, it's bad, it's your choice and your decision. If you decide to exclude it, know that you're missing maybe on something. And in that case, you need to do your research to get it from other sources or through supplements. The other nutrients that you're missing on, if you're excluding completely meat, is iron. Again, not that you cannot find it in other source. There's iron in plant food as well, but again, in lower amounts. And there's different type of iron, and the one that is found in meat is again the most bioavailable, so the one that the body can really process and use. So that's a part. But again, supplementation and other source. Now, why meat has been so demonized? And why, yes, it can be inflammatory and create all type of bad things. Don't want to say just the word cancer, but inflammation in general. First is that, say it's the best source of iron. But if you're eating meat at every meal, every day, and in large quantity, maybe your iron level will be really, really, really high. So that's something to check, is that most of our nutrients, they don't need to be too low. We don't want them too low, but we don't want them too high either. And when the iron is really high, it can create a cascade of inflammation and bad stuff happening in the body as well. The other thing with meat is the quality. What type of meat are we talking about? Are you eating a ribeye steak or a leg of chicken, a real animal, or some, sorry for the word, but that's my vision around food, but some kind of plastic sausages and beef patty, things that are full of fillers, and at the end we sometimes don't even know what's in it. And that would be certainly a subject for another discussion, but most of sausages and patties and things like that are full of gluten and dairy, which are for me the two main sources of inflammation, especially for multiple sclerosis and autoimmune in general. Again, maybe not for everyone. Nutrition needs to be specialized and individualized. We cannot have one answer, one right answer that works for everybody. And that's why studies around food and nutrition are really hard to conduct. Because we are, even if we share the same condition, we are all different people, different DNA, and different blood types. Even the blood types can affect the way we process food. So that's why nutrition is really hard to be researched, and it's really hard to say this is the diet that we need to follow for multiple sclerosis or for any other type of conditions. I think that's kind of the main point I wanted to make here. I certainly had more things to tell you, but does anyone here have a question or want to interact either in a chat, or if you want to unmute and ask something, please go for it.
Good morning.
Yeah, Hi, Mary.
I have heard that grass-fed beef has the same omega-3 profile as wild-caught salmon, which we know is pretty good for us. So if we limit our portions, and I've heard that the size of the palm of your hand is
Mm-hmm.
the proper size portion to put on your plate, and we're eating grass-fed beef as opposed to corn-fed beef, which is bad. Um, would you say that would be acceptable?
I would say it's more than acceptable, and that's actually, I knew that I will lose the track of what I was saying, but that's exactly another point that I wanted to make. When I'm talking about the quality of the meat, it's of course how much processed it is, but also how the animal has been fed. And again, if it's fed with grain, corn or gluten or wheat, all that the animal is eating is going into our body as well. So grass-fed, free range, everything is much better for us. And that's where usually we are told that meat is bad, is because yes, it's inflammatory, but not because of the meat itself, because of what it's eating. Now about the profile, I think it's for the omega-3. I think it's a much more complex conversation. I'm not sure about how much omega-3 in grass-fed beef compared to wild-caught salmon. And because I'm not really counting, I think that's not my way to see food. Yeah. For me, it's all about the variety. So yes, having beef once a week, if you're eating meat, is great. Having salmon once a week, it's amazing because that's the best source of indeed good omega-3 and um, vitamin D
Good
as
fat.
well. Yeah, and a lot of other things. Um, I would say each food item will come with its own panel of nutrients. And what we want is a bit of everything.
Mix
But
it up.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for raising the question of the grass-fed because that's exactly where I wanted to come.
You're welcome.
And other things, the size, indeed. Um, for me, that's kind of a logic to have when, again, let's talk about beef, but if someone is having a 300-gram piece of steak ribeye every evening, every day of the week, for me, that's not healthy.
No.
Something that would be healthy is indeed the size, a portion of meat is the size of the palm of the hand. So depending on your size, I always say that I'm not really lucky because I'm a tiny person, so I have a really small hand. But that's a reality. That's the size of the piece of meat or fish or proteins, because if you don't eat meat, that's your size of protein that you should have in your plate. And everything else should be filled with different vegetables.
Thank
And
you.
that's where, yeah, and that's where, so thank you again for that. But that's where I agree with the idea of a plant-based diet. But plant-based diet doesn't mean that everybody has to go vegan. Needs that the vegetables needs to be put back in the center of the meal. It's not about excluding everything. It's about knowing what is right for you or not. I have some clients as well who actually are not good at all with red meats, and they told me. And even if I believe that there's a lot of good stuff, good nutrients coming from red meats, I'm not going to force them. But they will go more into chicken or any kind of other white meat, but avoid this one. So, because it's not working for them, it's just a digestive issue. So if your body is saying no, that means the food is not right for you. Any other questions or things you would like to raise here? If you feel a bit too shy, which I understand because that's me, yeah, I told you I'm extremely introvert and shy, and it's hard for me to talk in front of a group, you can use the chat box. Please interact with everyone. So there's something else too, but I think we're going to be maybe running out of time. That could be subject for another webinar, is that sometimes what is told about meat is the problem of the fat in it. The unsaturated fat, the saturated, sorry, I'm losing my word, saturated fats that are thought to be inflammatory and bad for us. For this, I would say, again, yes and no. Yes, meat is high in saturated fat. Is it bad for us? Again, it will be a question of quantity. It will be a question of what oil or fat are you using around to cook it. Again, it's all a question of balance. So if you think that if you're worried about the saturated fat amount in meat, just think again on your week. Are you eating the same type of fatty meat all the time? Or are you balancing with some more lean meat? Like chicken, or here in New Zealand, venison is actually red meat, but it's lean. So that's really interesting to know as well, that we can have good source of iron without the fattiness if we want to alternate. So maybe I will leave you with that idea about thinking, what does that mean on a week of feeding yourself? Is that just what you're going to be eating on the moment that is bad? Or is that what you have around? And I think we're coming to the question of the balance and a balanced diet. And always, always for me, listen to yourself. If you feel sick straight after eating beef or lamb, there's a reason for that. Maybe, yes, your body is not ready to process fat. But if you feel fine, or if you can try as well, if you remove it and you feel like you're losing your energy, it's maybe because it was actually bringing something good for you. And I can talk from experience for that. I tried. I've been vegetarian for a year, I think, and I tried the vegan, and I was slowly feeling like I was fading. I was losing all my energy. The day I reintegrated meat, I regained this energy. But again, might not be for everyone. I saw people thriving being vegan. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but hi, I'm Rachel. I think so far in my journey, because I was eating meat quite regularly, probably I'd say 7 days a week. Yeah, I've probably learned about balance with my MS, and I've tried to cut that out.
Yeah, right. Well,
it seems to be working.
That's a really good point there, is that finding what's working. And I think, again, I was eating a lot of meat indeed, and every day. And now I find a rhythm where actually I have one day it's meat, one day it's fish. Then I'm doing a lot of other things as well, like fasting, and so I'm not eating 3 meals a day. But in my portion have been much smaller. So that's really finding this balance that work for you. So well done if you find that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? When you start out on a journey and you've been brought up one way, which for me was 3 veg and meat, then to try and change that up's been probably a little bit of a challenge, to be honest.
It's a really big challenge, and that's what I was saying. The thing about what I'm doing as a health coach, it's not about sharing the information, because the information we can all find them. It's helping people then to make the change, working on the behavior and on the challenge, because it's really, really hard, especially changing your nutrition. As you say, when you've been raised in a type of family, so I'm French, you can hear from my accent, I guess, but cheese is a massive part of my culture, and dairy and butter. So the day I had to remove dairy, it was a massive challenge for me, and it didn't happen in one day. I had to go through one thing and then thinking, no, it's way too hard. Eating that again and feeling how bad I was feeling. So yes, it's a massive challenge, and I think what helped me on the way, it was the support that I had around, which can come from friends, family, or a coach again. Right, we have maybe time for one more questions, if there's something. Or something you would like to share? I think Diane, yeah. Hi.
I wonder if next time we could talk about dairy. I seem to,
Yeah.
I'm struggling with dairy, and I've changed over to almond milk, and that seems a bit better, but maybe just, that was a thought. Maybe we'd like to talk a bit about dairy. And I seem to be able to eat cheese, although not always, and I'm not quite sure why. It's mostly milk, ice cream. I used to always make custards, but I don't make any custard now. But and yogurt, I have coconut yogurt, and that seems to be all right.
Yeah.
Or almond yogurt. But I'm a bit scared to try dairy yogurt again.
So yeah, just to let everybody know, I cannot give any personal advice here or help, but we can plan another, and if we start on dairy, we have 2 hours again in front of us. So yes, I will plan to talk about dairy on the next nutrition and food topic. I've been asked to talk about physical exercise as well, so that might be the topic for the next time. But in a few months' time, as I said, there will be one every month. So to be sure not to miss any of this webinar or discussion, honestly, I still don't know how to call it. You can join the group if you're on Facebook. There's a group called NZ Multiple Sclerosis Lifestyle and Healing, Natural Healing. You can follow my page on Facebook as well with my name. For the one who had my email, you have everything at the bottom of it. And the other part is, so all this is free. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. You will have all the information at the bottom of my email.